Al Stewart there, and I grew up for a lot of my time in college listening to Al Stewart, I tell you. Lovely, and I'm going back, goodness gracious, going back 40, 50 years, and that's how old that piece is, but a lovely piece altogether. I'd love to welcome, and I will welcome into studio, Austin Morgan, Rostrevor man, all your life almost in London, and your brother Colum Morgan. Lads, you're both very, very welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
And we have, you're hugely interested in the story of the Ross Monument in Rostrevor, and we have some pictures of the whole thing here now that Andrew's going to bring up for us, and the notion that it should become a peace garden. You know, tell me about that if you would, Austin.
Well, let's put it this way. Because of the emphasis that's on the monument itself from it's been put there in 1826, and the evaluation in any historical form of that monument to do with the Major General Robert Ross, right?
Yes.
It's become a very complex subject even to this moment in time. Whether it's to do with the emphasis with the monument itself, the evaluation that they held in high esteem of Major General Robert Ross, alive and now passed. It's like a hot potato.
Yeah, well, he went, and we saw there, will you put Madison back up again there for us, if you would, Andrew? He went to America and put manners into this fellow.
Yes, yes.
So to speak.
Yes. Well,
he was the man, Ross was the man who had an adventure in relation to the White House.
Yes, he did, yes.
He burnt it down in the war.
He burnt the White House down, yes.
Goodness gracious. And that's significant for us. Now, Ross himself and the monument, we have a shot of that as well, Andrew, haven't we? If we can look at that. But in going to America, he raised his own army of foot in Rostrevor, and he appealed to them, and they went out and they helped him and they did the business with him. Well,
it did. It's strange you're coming on to that point now, because I did recently read in the American that came over some weeks ago, that wrote a book on Ross and whatever, and the complete war out there and everything.
That's you, Andrew.
That what was this? He said Steve Vogel, a tremendous book.
Yes.
I've read it twice, but he had said, right, that in Rostrevor, after the burning of the White House, that they lit bonfires
to celebrate.
But they no longer started celebrating when the news had come through that he'd been shot.
Yeah, yeah. But his soul goes marching on in Rostrevor, in the Ross Monument, and these three wonderful. You have here the third painting. This is Ross. We've seen Madison, the president at the time. The third painting is of who?
The third painting is of Francis Scott Key there.
Now, who he?
He was the man that wrote the Star-Spangled Banner.
Yes.
He say Baltimore Ablaze, and he was inspired to write a poem that later became the Star-Spangled Banner.
The national anthem.
To this day.
Can we see it, Andrew, please? The portrait of this gentleman. That's him there. The man responsible for the words that would eventually become the anthem of the United States of America.
That is right.
It's amazing.
That is right.
But I mean, tell us if you would, Colum, you're a Rostrevor man, born and bred like Austin. Very proud of Rostrevor today.
Very much so. Oh yes, plenty of history about it, Ron.
Plenty of history indeed, and
yeah.
Part and parcel of that history was Ross. Is there an enthusiasm for a peace garden to be arrived at in Rostrevor, Colum?
We think so. We firmly believe, yes. There's a lot of people would go for that, definitely. Yeah. It would be wonderful. It'd be a great thing. There's definitely something missing there.
Yeah.
And
it's crying out for it, because the actual, that's fine with the pictures now, Andrew. You've done your bit there. Thank you. The monument is crying out for something other than just sterile ground to the front between the monument and the sea.
Absolutely.
You know, from monument to rolling sea, of a peace garden there, commemorating those who have lost things in the troubles here, and commemorating too the walk that we're on towards peace.
Yes, yes. See, Newry Council done tremendous work there when it was refurbished, right? It's nearly 100 foot, I believe, of the obelisk is nearly 100 feet tall. When you go in there, outside of the actual monument there on the public road there, if you like, they've got some most beautiful flowers there, flower beds. They've got nice cut grass there. Well, it's extraordinary, it's beautiful and very nice, right? Especially as the cold weather and that's gone, the flowers were still in bloom and whatever, beautiful colour and everything.
Yes.
Very spiritual. But as soon as you walk through those gates, right, there's a void, right? It's as if that monument, in a sense, is becoming, in a sense, manifest by Ross. It's as if he's saying, you've come here to acknowledge this monument in my memory, but perhaps I've got to say also in it, and that there is an allure there where there's like an alien energy that engulfs the whole lot of it, which would be difficult for people to understand, but I believe it's there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Major General Robert Ross would be over the moon that if the council took it in hand, right, that they put some beautiful flowers in there and some nice seating.
Yeah.
Where people that come from far and wide, right, would come there as tourists, and people perhaps that live in the surrounding areas and whatever, right, it would be a sort of a light. I believe that it's said, if you look at Carlingford on a winter's night and the Ross Monument is ablaze with light, it's as if you're looking at a beacon of light.
You are indeed.
Not a beacon of war.
No.
Right? Or the dark sinisterness of that.
No.
Right? But it's like...
Symbol of hope.
Up, yes.
Symbol of hope.
Now you've answered the question.
Taking us forward into the... Because we're always told we haven't got peace, but we're with the roadmap to peace.
Yes.
And we're working towards that. And you see, people who go into the monument at the moment, Austin, they can sit on the steps, but nowhere else.
That's exactly
And
right.
if you get old people sitting down on the steps, and they're coming from America and all over the world, if they're sitting down, there's a chance they'll not get up again. They need a wee bit of kindness shown to them.
Yeah. And when you walk up a bit, the actual pathway there, right, is very uncomfortable in a sense. They've done the best with it, and it looks wonderful and everything, but it's tiresome.
Yes.
And you're looking at like a void, right?
Yeah. No, it needs to be, that needs to happen. But Rostrevor, you see, of course, has regal connections. The Bowes-Lyons, the second cousin to the Queen, the Bowes-Lyons family there.
That is
and
right.
you lived in the Bowes-Lyons house in Rostrevor.
Well, I didn't actually live there myself. My family did. My late mother took it over, and then my sisters carried on, and it was changed into a guest house.
Yeah.
Right? It was prior to that the Bowes-Lyons lived there. She was very, perhaps not so much an effeminate-looking woman. Princess Anne looks a little bit like her. I've always remarked, right?
Yeah, I see. Yes.
But she used to have these special horses there, 20 or 30 horses, Arab horses, and she used to take them to London and show and everything like that.
And then back to Rostrevor.
Back to Rostrevor.
Had you stables surrounding the place? Yeah.
There was stables there as well. Yes, yes.
You see, I heard it said, and you tell me now if this is right or wrong, and I think it's indeed possible it's right. I heard it said that Queen Elizabeth watched her first sound movie in the cinema in Rostrevor.
Yes.
Could that be true?
I do believe there's a ring of truth attached to that. I don't suppose the lady in question would mind me saying this, right? I've never met her in the flesh. I'm not saying nothing indifferent, whatever. But there is a story that when the present Queen came over to the Republic there, Dublin, whatever, or where Mary McLeish's, the President's house there in the Phoenix Park.
Yes, yes.
She'd asked her where she came from, the Queen. And she says, oh, I come from Rostrevor. Right. Oh, she says, my sister, Princess Margaret, and I were there as children.
There we are. It's tying in.
Right. There's something about the lodge itself. Unfortunately, they demolished the house, right? There's 100 acres there of the most unusual sort of scenic setting with a backdrop there of the moors and everything, right? But I mean, that house was steeped in history. Don't forget, a man by the name of Canning, the Cannings of Wiltshire, the Bishop Cannings of Wiltshire, he lived there, right? It had the most extraordinary history. At least 4 sort of very affluent, well-born type families were in that house. Right.
Did the family ever, we talk about an aura around the monument in Rostrevor, the Ross's monument, a certain spirituality. Did the family ever notice that they were surrounded by the good ghosts, the royal ghosts of the past?
When you say did they, who do you mean?
Your family?
No,
who would have stayed there?
Well, they weren't, I don't think my family was that much attuned to that sort of thing. I am. I've been studying it for 40, 50 years.
Really?
Yes. I'm extremely interested in the paranormal. I don't believe for 2 seconds that death is the final thing at all.
I so hope you're right.
Yes.
And I think you are right.
Well, please God.
Indeed.
But as I say, the scenery there and that...
It's huge. It is. There's no...
Extraordinary stuff.
Indeed.
My grandfather worked on the estate for Canning all them years ago. It must have been 19 something. He worked as a ploughman there.
Yeah. My goodness. A ploughman.
And there's a lovely little story there, if I could tell you, how my family actually came to be there. Well, my dear late mother, God rest her, right, she'd heard that there was a woman there who'd taken the place over after the Boas Lyons died, right? And she had actually left the house and the land and that to a godchild in London. It was left to her when she would come to be a certain age, she would have it.
Yes.
I think it was Calvert.
Calvert was the name.
Yeah.
That was the name, yeah.
So anyway, my family was there all those years afterwards, right? But when it came to the time, right, for her to take the place over, she didn't know what to do about it. She couldn't make her mind up, right? And that's how the Newry Moan Council acquired it.
So it's... And the story continues on. I'm going to tell a story now, and I hope you don't mind.
Yes.
This man was... You will know of my work in Africa, and early on in the last decade of my work there, this man, Austin Morgan, heard about the schools, and you made very special gifts to the schools for the children of writing implements, pens and pencils and hats, and they all went out to the school. And you made a difference to people, you cheered them up, and they had something that was useful. And you were doing that from your solitude of London, and you're reaching back to Ireland and through Ireland out to Africa. And I never thought I'd get the opportunity to say to you face to face, thank you, Austin Morgan,
Thank
for
you
doing
so much.
that.
Thank you.
But you're a good man. You're home for a wee while now, are you?
Yes, yes.
And go back when, do you think?
Well, there's every chance I'll stay here now because,
That would be nice if you
because
did.
I haven't been feeling that good, you know.
You look good.
Well,
He looks healthy, doesn't he? He looks
Does
solid.
look.
Yeah, there's
He
no
does,
two ways
surely.
about it.
Going to get him in there swimming this summer over
Yes.
the dock. Get him into the cold water, it'll make a new man of him.
Listen, thank you for coming in. You're both
Thank
very,
you.
very kind
Thank
indeed.
you.
We'll play some music now. Thank you indeed. Go well.